If you're looking at the back of the phone over here on the right hand side, there's a little divot there you can grab a hold of. That pops off the back panel, and look at that, a removable battery. Thank you, Samsung. Remove it. Now I got a new tool in today. It is the iPlastics pry tool, and this is from the same company that makes DaughterPod. I will do a review of this tool and trying it out on several devices. I'll go ahead and link that up there in the corner. You can click on that if you want to check it out. So let's see if we can get this screen off in one piece. Keep in mind that you do have a couple of cables behind your menu and back button, so you don't want to pry too far underneath the screen. And if you're trying to remove the screen in one piece and are planning to reinstall it later on, there's also the cable that goes behind the display up at the top. Now I did this using just the pry tool and some heat. If you want to make your life much easier, dip your pry tool into some 99% isopropyl alcohol. It will make it much easier to get through the adhesive. I am going to speed up the camera momentarily so you don't have to sit and watch this entire process. I was being very careful with this display because I wanted to take it off in one piece so that it could be reinstalled. I was actually working on this phone for a different repair entirely. So if your screen's already broken and you're not worried about preserving the glass or the display behind it, you don't have to be nearly as careful as I was. Just watch out for those two cables behind your keys right next to the home button at the bottom. People will often ask, what if I don't have a heat gun? Can I use a hair dryer instead? And while most of the time I'll say, yeah, it's just going to take you a lot longer to reach a sufficient temperature, I would be very skeptical about this particular phone. This adhesive is super sticky, so the warmer you can get it, the better, obviously without going so hot that you burn it. We usually aim for warm to the touch, but not hot enough to burn your skin. You can see here that I actually used a hot plate. This is another tool that we use for removing screens. If you don't have one, that's not a problem. I found that the heat gun is just as effective as using this. This is just kind of a different way to do it. As far as the hair dryer goes, though, I think it's going to take you a lot longer to get the screen off. And if you're trying to get off in one piece, I would say good luck. You really want to think about investing in a heat gun. One of the main advantages of this hot plate suction machine is it does grab a hold of the front of the screen pretty well. You can also use a tile suction cup if your glass is not cracked. Now if you see any small pieces of string coming out along the edge of the display, you can carefully grab a hold of them and kind of pull them away from the phone, and a lot of times you'll be able to get one big chunk off at one time. This part's a little hard to show, but underneath the screen you'll have the display cable, and it's covered by a little plastic cover. So you've got to first pry the plastic cover off, and once you do that, you'll be able to see the flex cable, and from there you want to very carefully disconnect that cable. Remember, if you damage the cable or the connector, you're going to have problems with either of those. Again, if your screen's broken, not too worried about the flex cable itself, but if it's not, we don't want to damage it. And we especially don't want to damage the connector that's on the board where the display plugs in. Here's that little plastic piece I was talking about. You want to set that somewhere where you don't lose it. Before you apply any adhesive or go any further, I would recommend that you plug in your new display and confirm that it is working, that everything lights up properly, that the touchscreen is functional. If not, once you install this, it's going to be very risky to pull it off again if you have to return it for any reason. So I always do what I call a dry run, just kind of plug it in with no adhesive, put the battery on, power it up, and make sure that everything is working properly. From here we want to remove all of the old adhesive from the mid frame, and if you are reinstalling the same display, of course you want to clean up the surface of the glass that sticks to the frame. Be very careful as you're removing this stuff, especially from the display. You can usually kind of roll it with your fingers. There's actually a black layer of tape right underneath the adhesive, and if you're able to get a hold of that, you can usually pull off a pretty big strip all at once. Something strange happened here. I ordered a pre-cut adhesive for a J727 and they apparently sent me the wrong one. So as you can see, the spot for the front-facing camera does not line up properly. Now, fortunately, everything else was fine. It's just that one little area that wasn't matching up, so I had to kind of make an adjustment, which you'll see here shortly. But what we want to do is peel this plastic off so that we can lay it down, hopefully on the mid frame. I prefer to do it that way. Sometimes these things want to come off backwards, so the sticky side is facing the glass, and to me that just makes it very difficult to work with. So if you have to, you'll want to just take a really close look at these layers of plastic and make sure that you're getting off in the right direction, so that way you can lay it down on the mid frame. And be very careful with the alignment. I always recommend you get a couple of these pre-cut adhesives just in case you make a mistake with one of them. See, I've just kind of got the plastic peeled back. I didn't take it completely off because once you do that, there's not really anything to hold it in shape. So I'm going to start at the top end here, work my way down the sides, stick the bottom on, and then I'll go ahead and make an adjustment to that upper area where the camera is being obscured at the moment. Once you've got the adhesive in place, before you peel the outer layer off, I'd recommend you go ahead and plug in the display, replace the plastic cap that goes over the connector, and then I'm going to make a small cut once I start to peel up the adhesive. That way I can kind of go around the phone and not have to worry about maneuvering over the display. And also, during this point, you want to make sure that you don't allow the display to touch the frame once you start peeling this off, because obviously if you do, it's going to stick, and then if you don't have it aligned properly, that's going to be a problem. So here you can see I'm just going to lift it up, take something like a small pair of scissors. If you have precision tweezers, these work great. Not tweezers, scissors, hello. And then we will just go ahead and peel this off all the way around. Again, I'm keeping the display away from the frame at this point. And take your time, make sure it doesn't get snagged on the home button or anything like that at the bottom. And then I'll start here at the top, make sure everything aligns properly, and again, work my way down towards the bottom end. Once you've got everything in position and it's pressed on, they do recommend that you use some heat in order to help cure the adhesive. So I'm just going to go over this once again, getting it up to about the 110, 115 Fahrenheit range. And then if you have the option, it's not a bad idea to kind of keep some pressure on the upper and lower end so that that can seal up. Some people like to use clamps. I'll generally put something like a soft towel down, put the phone face down on top of it, and then put something not too heavy, maybe a few pounds right on top of the back, and that'll kind of help it to stay in position as it cures. If you found the video helpful, like it, share it, check out my channel for more tutorials and product reviews, and most of all, remember to hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave your feedback in the comments section, and thanks for watching.